Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Nadia Kahn. She is with the Disability Network. Nadia handles outreach at the Disability Network, and she was telling me the other day in a few months she is going to go through the certification process with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And Nadia is going to speak about the intersectionality of the disabled community and the LGBTQ community. And as you know, I'm a living testament now to being a member of both. And I think here in the next few weeks, we're really pleased that Disability Network is going to become.
All right, so first of all, my name is Nadia Kahn. I work at Disability Network Mid-Michigan, and I'm going to do a physical description of myself. So I have short curly hair. It's very shaggy, as my mom calls it. I have a gray comfy sweater on today since the weather can't really make up its mind. And that's just something we do at Disability Network for folks who have low vision or sensory processing differences. Just a quick physical description of yourself so that we can know who you are and just get to know you a little bit better. So I will also do that for the slides, do a quick physical or image description of them. So for the first, it is a title, Disability Network of Mid-Michigan, with our logo in the corner, and it says a Center for Independent Living. So we'll get into that. So our mission statement. I also have brochures on the physical tables in front. It just is a good breakdown of our core services. I don't know why that keeps changing.
It's got a timer on it.
I see that, but I didn't do that, so thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so our mission statement is to promote and encourage independence for, you know what? Is it okay if I just do it like that? We're adapting. Look at that.
Of course.
All right. So to promote and encourage independence for all people with disabilities. I think that's something we can all agree on. And we have a little blue swirl on the left side. And so how do we do that? Our vision statement is creating accessible and inclusive communities that provide opportunities for individual choice. So as a Center for Independent Living, I'm going to go to the next slide. What does that mean? When I say Center for Independent Living, a lot of people think that means we provide housing. That's the one thing we don't provide. We are a house, as I say, of the independent living movement. So we want people to be able to choose how they live. The independent living philosophy was a grassroots response, kind of mothered and fathered by Ed Roberts and Judy Heumann. So in Michigan, there are 15 different centers for independent living. So we cover the entire state. Disability Network is this number 8 right here. So we cover 12 counties. It's that dark purple one. So there's a physical map of Michigan, the upper and lower peninsula, split into 14 different counties. And 51% of all of our staff have to be people with disabilities. It is written into our bylaws because we know lived experience is imperative to being able to service people with disabilities meaningfully and effectively. So you have to have a seat at the table to be able to tell you what's wrong at the table and in the world. So having those people with disabilities doesn't mean we all have the same disability. And I'm going to get into intersectionality as Tom touched on. So what is intersectionality? It is based on the work of Kimberly Crenshaw, and it is defined as a lens for understanding how multiple forms of identities multiple forms of inequality overlap, compound, and intersect. Experience of oppressions are not just sums of a part, but unique, often invisible forms of discrimination. And to the left of the slide, I have the pride flag with the inclusion arrows of the trans flag, the intersex circle and the disability pride flag included in there. So I tried to get everything. They don't have one with the two-spirit also included in there, so there's some work to be done still. I like to think of intersectionality as a piece of fabric, and each strand of who you are, your age, your race, your disability status, where you come from, how much money you make, what neighborhood you live in, is a thread in that. And if you pull one thread out, your fabric disintegrates and you're left with nothing. You can't take one piece out and still have a whole. All of it makes up one thing, and you are that one individual. And so what we say at Disability Network is, when you come to us, you are the whole. We are addressing you as you are. We're not trying to change who you are. And I think a lot of the times when you are a person with a disability and also a queer person, you see that people try to extrapolate the two and address one or the other. And we have a history of that with the medicalization of identity. If you move to the next slide. Thank you. So how do our two communities interact? And they don't interact, they're the same community. So the medical industrial complex. So queer and disabled identities have been treated as abnormalities that need to be corrected. I know that when I first got my diagnosis, I felt, oh my God, how am I ever going to get into a relationship? Nobody wants to date a 20-year-old with arthritis. Turns out it was just my personality. It wasn't the arthritis thing. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to fix my arthritis. That's not going to go away. And it still hasn't gone away. But what went away was my bad attitude towards it. And in a way, the disability itself is always going to be there, but the stigma around it is what we need to change. And so when we have questions that go unanswered, that's where the stigma is really born. So we don't need to correct anything. We need to address the environmental barriers that we're all seeing. So when those things are not addressed, we reach something called the double closet. I think we've all heard of the closet before. Some of us lived in it for a long time. Some of us didn't have the luxury of being in the closet. So due to a lack of competent, affirming care, many feel forced to hide either their disability and or their queer identity in the medical and social settings. It feels like you have two strikes against you already, just being born that way or acquiring a disability later in life. And so when it comes to advocacy, trans and queer justice is inseparable from disability justice. We just call it justice at Disability Network. We are aiming to shift from the medical model to the social model. So instead of pointing at the person saying, fix this, this, and this, we're pointing at the world saying, fix that, that, and that. That focuses on access, equity, community, and the deconstruction of all of those isms: ableism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and heteronormativity. Because if you are not a straight white man who can put out the most labor possible, you're not going to fit that mold. And I don't think any of us here truly fit that mold. Because if you age, you're kicked out of that club. And all of us are going to age. Unfortunately. But not unfortunately, because that means I have a job forever. So thankfully. So, Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde is the person that I turned to when I felt like God, no offense, was not enough for me when I got the disability diagnosis. So the side picture says, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. So more than 1/3 of queer people identify as having a disability. So that's about 5 million people in the United States. So 2 in 5 trans people have a disability, are diagnosed with it. And so that doesn't even count the people that do not go to the doctor and get that stamp of a disability. So we know it's underreported. Navigating both ableism within the queer community and homophobia and transphobia within the disability community is something that we've all faced at one time or another. So how do we address that? I don't want to just leave here and say, so this is what's going on. I'm gonna head out. I want to offer some solutions because Disability Network offers quite a few services so that we can start to bridge that gap. It's a forever fight. I think we all know that. But our core services are here to cover some of those things that just cause a lot of stress. I say this not to scare you, but because I think all of us know that disability is the one protected class that you can join at any time of your life. So you're born queer, you're born whatever you are. You may not be born disabled, but it can come. And that is so scary. So that's what we're here to do, is to ease that fear, because it's a natural part of life. So we offer about 5 different services to one, ease that transition, but to transition you from each stage of life so you can live as independently as you choose. So here are them listed out, and then I'm going to break down a few of them. So we have community transition services, individual and system advocacy, independent living skill building, peer group and mentoring, and then information and referral. So information and referral is our most common service. That is where you can call and just ask questions. You don't even have to give us your name. And this is the first, I always say, our first line of defense. Those are the people that you're going to come in contact with if you meet us in the wild, not me in this setting talking at you. And they are the ones, they're the gateway. They're going to set you up with all of our services or refer you out to someone if our in-house services are not the best. So they do all of this: Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare help, assistive technology help, and disability information. Next, we have our peer support and mentoring. And as I said, when I got my diagnosis, this is what I needed, just to know that there was a community out there for me. They have one-on-one mentoring or the larger group, and they have trained mentors. So these are folks with disabilities, both those physical ones and the invisible ones, as we call them. So we have everybody integrated too. That is something that not every organization has. Sometimes you still see separation in disability organizations. That's not what we're about. There are virtual opportunities and in-person opportunities for that. Next is what I think sets us apart. We have independent skill building, and this is for every age. We usually start at about age 14 because that's when folks start that independent process where you start to become independent for the first time. And we do those soft skills that they don't teach in school: how to budget, how to bathe yourself, how to apply for a job. We do job shadowing. And we also teach you how to use your assistive technology if you're someone who's new to that. Pre-employment, budgeting, time management, all those kinds of things. Next, we have community transition services. So that transition to independent living. In Midland, we offer a skill site. So it's an apartment that we rent out, and it is fully accessible. And it has a kitchen there where, again, we can use all those assistive technology kitchen aids and teach somebody how to cook a meal for themselves, someone that either has a physical disability or a mental impairment. And again, it teaches you how to be independent without needing to depend on somebody. And then our nursing facility transition, it sounds like we're putting people in nursing homes. We're doing the opposite. We're breaking them out. We get people out of nursing homes because I think we all know someone who was put there prematurely. And if you've been in one, visited one, it's not the best quality of life. I don't think anybody chooses to be there. So we put them in a more independent or community-based living. And it's a place that they get to choose. And we handle all the budget for this. So everything that we do is no cost to the consumer. And last thing I'll cover is the individual and systems advocacy. So this is for usually higher things, higher needs, discrimination, local forums like in Saginaw, the buses was I'm sorry, not Saginaw, we're in Saginaw. In Midland, the bus county connections, the no show policy, like for the county connections, if you were to call and say, hey, I need a ride, here's my ride ticket, please pick me up at 3:30, and you weren't there by 3:35, you would not be able to use that same county connection bus for 6 weeks. And if you're a person with a disability and that bus shows up 5 minutes early, That is a huge barrier. So we got that knocked down. So you have a few different attempts. They're going to call you first, say, hey, we're early, things like that, where that local forums, just showing up to that county connection meeting, it matters. We show up there. Collaborations, things like this. Community education. I come in and I tell you how to make your presentations more accessible, stuff like that. And then I also answer questions, hook people up with our services. I'm more on the community education aspect of things. Our information and referral specialists are the ones that will hook you up with the individual services, but we're one big team. So we're always gonna meet with you and leave you in a better space than where we found you. If you come to us and say, I need help with this, we're never gonna say, oh man, that sucks. See ya. No, we're gonna try and help you. So I know I covered a lot and I didn't go into a ton of detail on everything. A lot of it is in here and on our website. And if you have any questions, we can kind of do that now. And I will also be sticking around if you have some more individual questions that maybe you don't want to share with the group.